I was pouring cereal for my daughter when my phone buzzed. A message from my mother lit the screen. No gifts this year, we're struggling. For a moment, I actually believed her. I told her it was okay that we didn't need anything. But a week later, before the sun even came up, everything shifted. A single notification revealed the truth she never meant for me to see, and the ground under our family finally cracked. What happened next didn't start with anger. It started with a 6-year-old whispering, "Did Grandma forget me again?" My name is Jenny, and if you walked into my apartment on any ordinary morning, you'd probably think my life was uncomplicated. The smell of toast, Lily's backpack half-zipped on the counter. Sunlight slipping through the blinds, everything looks calm from the outside. But families have a way of hiding storms behind neat curtains, and mine has always been good at that. I grew up in a home where attention moved in one direction, almost like gravity, straight toward my older sister Amanda. She didn't ask for it, not always, but it didn't matter. My mother's world seemed to orbit around her, every accomplishment amplified, every mistake softened. Meanwhile, I learned to make myself small to avoid adding one more thing to my parents' plate. My father, gentle but absent in his own quiet way, let the imbalance settle in, like dust no one bothered to wipe. It took becoming a mother myself to understand how dangerous that imbalance had been. When Lily came along, tiny, blinking, fiercely alive, I realized how deeply love shapes a child's understanding of themselves. I wanted her to feel chosen every single day, not compared, not overshadowed, chosen. For a while, I tried weaving my family into her life. Holiday visits, Sunday calls, little drawings she made for my parents that I mailed north to their house. And sometimes they responded with warmth, just enough to keep me hoping things might change. But the old patterns always resurfaced. My mother's attention drifted back to Amanda's kids, their soccer tournaments, their toy wish lists, their endless stream of cute stories my mother retold as if she were narrating a fairy tale. Lily listened quietly, her hands folded in her lap, smiling, even when the stories never included her. I noticed the moments that hurt her, the way her shoulders dropped when my mother forgot a promise, the way she asked whether Grandma liked her drawings. And each time I found myself softening the truth, telling Lily that grown-ups get busy, that love doesn't disappear just because someone forgets. But the truth is, forgetting becomes a habit. And in my family, it had already become a pattern long before Lily was born. Still, I kept giving them chances. I kept smoothing the edges. I kept believing the next holiday, the next phone call, the next small gesture might shift something. I had no idea a single text, 8 casual words about struggling, would be the moment everything finally stopped balancing on excuses, and the moment Lily and I began seeing the truth for what it really was. The week after my mother's message drifted into my phone, life moved on as if nothing had happened. Lily practiced a winter song for her school assembly. I wrapped up year-end reports at work. Snow gathered in soft piles along the sidewalks outside our building. Everything looked normal, steady, predictable. But I could feel something trembling beneath the surface, the way you sense a crack in a glass even before it splits. It happened on a Thursday evening, one of those quiet hours when Lily was coloring at the kitchen table and I was rinsing dishes. My phone buzzed again, and for some reason I glanced at it immediately. Maybe part of me was still hoping my mother would follow up with something softer, an apology, a promise to make it up to Lily later. Instead, I saw her name above a notification from social media. Mom added 32 new photos. I opened it, and the world sharpened into something cold. The first picture was a mountain of glossy shopping bags, designer logos stacked like trophies. The next were rows of toys, limited edition sets, electronic gadgets, plush animals half the size of Lily. Each photo looked like a magazine spread under their Christmas tree, perfectly lit, perfectly arranged. My mother's caption pinned everything into place for my sweet grandbabies. They deserve the world. My heart stuttered. My throat tightened. But what stunned me wasn't the money spent or the extravagance, it was the unmistakable omission. Their names, their smiles, their excitement. Only Amanda's kids existed in those photos. Not a single mention of Lily. Not even a passing note like, "Wish we could include everyone this year." Just silence. A silence that felt intentional, I kept scrolling each picture, carving a deeper hollow inside me. And then Lily tugged at my sleeve. "Mom, why are you standing so still?" I lowered the phone, forcing my voice steady. "Just looking at something." She tiptoed closer, curious as any 6-year-old would be, and before I could angle the screen away, her eyes caught the tree. The presence, the words. Her face shifted in slow motion, confusion folding into something more fragile. "Are those for us?" she asked. "No, sweetheart," I whispered. She nodded the way children do when they're trying to pretend something doesn't hurt. But then she asked the question that punched straight into the place I'd kept guarded for years. Did Grandma forget me again? There wasn't a gentle answer. There wasn't an explanation that could soften the truth. So I did the only honest thing. I pulled her into my arms and let silence speak for both of us. Inside that quiet, something flicked into focus. My mother's message, her shopping spree, the years of imbalance, the weight of every small hurt Lily had swallowed. I wasn't angry yet. Anger comes fast, hot, reckless. What I felt was slower, something steady, deliberate, a decision forming. Because in that moment, I realized this wasn't an accident or a misunderstanding. It was a pattern. And patterns only break when someone finally refuses to play their part. After I put Lily to bed that night, the apartment settled into the kind of quiet that forces you to hear your own heartbeat. I stood in the living room for a long moment, staring at the soft glow of the Christmas lights we'd hung along the window. They looked small compared to the glittering avalanche of toys in my mother's photos. Small but honest. Ours. I walked to my desk and opened my laptop. The screen lit my face with a pale blue wash, and for the first time in years, I didn't feel guilty for thinking about myself or Lily first. My cursor hovered over the financial dashboard I'd used for so long without a second thought. Rows of payments, bills, insurance notices, automatic transfers I'd set up to help out during a rough patch that somehow had stretched into years. Each one was only a few hundred, but together, month after month, they formed a backbone my parents had quietly leaned on as if it belonged to them. I clicked the first subscription. Cancel. The system asked, "Are you sure?" I had never been more sure of anything. Confirm. The second one. Cancel. Confirm. By the fifth, my breathing steadied. By the seventh, my shoulders loosened. It didn't feel vindictive. It felt rightful. Like returning something that had been stolen too slowly to notice. A small part of me waited to feel guilty, but that feeling didn't come. Instead, I kept seeing Lily's face, her attempt to smile through disappointment, her soft question ringing in my ears. Did Grandma forget me again? No child should ever carry that weight, and no mother should have to watch it happen. When I finished, I sat back in my chair, letting the reality settle. The safety net they'd relied on without acknowledgement was gone. I hadn't yelled, I hadn't confronted, I hadn't posted anything online or sent angry messages. I'd simply handed them back their responsibilities they should have been carrying all along. The next morning, I woke before my alarm. The air in the apartment felt different, lighter, as if a window had been opened during the night. As I made coffee, I wondered how long it would take before someone noticed. A few days, a week. Maybe they'd call my sister first, asking why the electric bill hadn't gone through. Maybe my mother would blame the bank or the system or anything except her own choices. But a part of me suspected it wouldn't take long. When people depend on something long enough, the absence becomes louder than the presence ever was. And I was right, because the very next morning, earlier than I would have believed, someone did notice. And that someone was already on his way to my door. It was 8 a.m. when the pounding started, sharp, frantic, the kind of knocking that rattles the frame before you're even fully awake. For a moment, I thought it was a dream. Then Lily stirred beside me and whispered, "Mom, someone's at the door." Her voice was small, uneasy. I wrapped my robe around myself and walked down the hallway. Each step seemed to thud in the same rhythm as the knocking. When I pulled back the curtain, I froze. My father was on the porch, still in his coat hair, unbrushed, his breath fogging the cold morning air. He looked afraid. Not annoyed, not confused afraid. "Jenny," he called the second he saw movement. "Open the door, please." I unlocked it slowly. "Dad." "What's going on?" He stepped inside without waiting for an invitation, rubbing his hands together as if he'd sprinted all the way here. Everything bounced, he said. Every bill. The electric, water, insurance, the payment for your mother's medication card, even the internet. All declined. The notices came in all at once. Your mother is losing her mind. I felt a strange calm wash over me like a lake smoothing over after a skipped stone. Okay, I said evenly. So what do you need from me? He stared at me, confused by my composure. Did something happen with the bank? Did your card get compromised? Why didn't anything go through this month? I let the question sit. Then I answered the only way that felt honest. Because I canceled the auto payments. He blinked. Once. Twice. The weight of my words sank in slowly like ice melting into cracks. You canceled them, yes. But why would you do that? His voice had an edge of desperation. My father was never confrontational, but fear pushed him closer to it now. I walked toward the kitchen, motioning for him to follow. Sit down, Dad. He did reluctantly, his hands clasped together as if in prayer or restraint. I poured him a glass of water and set it in front of him, the same way he used to place a cup of cocoa in front of me when I was little. Funny how the smallest gestures echo across time. Let me ask you something, I said. When was the last time you and Mom paid your own bills without any help from me? He hesitated. His mouth opened, then closed again. The silence answered for him. I've been covering everything for years, I continued. Bills, insurance, payments, transfers, all of it. We didn't. He faltered. We didn't expect you to keep doing it forever. It was temporary. I nodded slowly. Is that what Mom told you? Because she told me the same thing. For 3 straight years. He swallowed. Why didn't you say something sooner? I did, I replied. In small ways, I hinted. I asked questions. I brought it up gently because I didn't want to embarrass either of you. But every time Mom brushed it off or changed the subject or made me feel dramatic for even noticing. He looked down at his hands. The silence between us thickened. And then she told me I continued that she couldn't afford gifts for Lily this year. She said you two were struggling. She said money was tight. So I accepted it. I told her it was fine. My father nodded slowly as if this part aligned with what he understood. But a week later, I said, my voice tightening. Despite myself, she posted dozens of designer gifts online for Amanda's kids. He flinched not from the information, but from the way I said it, like the truth itself had sharp edges. I leaned back. So tell me, Dad, which part of that sounds like someone who needed me to carry their bills, and which part sounds like someone who wanted me to stay quiet while they spoiled one set of grandchildren and erased the other? He looked older in that moment, tired in a way I hadn't seen before, as if the lie had finally climbed onto his shoulders instead of mine. I didn't know, he whispered. Jenny, I swear I didn't know she said that to you, or that she did that. I believe you, I said softly, but you also didn't ask. You didn't look. You let her set the rules, and I carried the consequences. He leaned forward, elbows on knees, pressing his palms to his forehead. So you canceled everything. I did. And what are we supposed to do now? He asked, lifting his head. We can't afford. I know, I said. And I'm sorry. I truly am. But you can't afford to hand everything to Amanda's family either, Dad. And yet you do. He closed his eyes. Not in denial, more like someone seeing a memory differently the second time around. I continued quietly. I didn't do this to punish you. I did it to protect Lily. She saw those pictures. She read those comments. And she asked me the one question I've spent years shielding her from. His voice cracked. What did she ask? She asked if Grandma forgot her again. My father's composure crumbled. His jaw tightened. His breath hitched. She didn't deserve that, he murmured. No, I said, she didn't. And she won't experience it again. Not on my watch. He was quiet for a long time. The refrigerator hummed. A car passed outside. Somewhere down the hallway, Lily stirred in her room. The moment stretched thin, then thinner still, until my father finally spoke. I'm going to talk to your mother, he said. This isn't right. It hasn't been right for a long time. I nodded, though a part of me doubted how that conversation would go. My mother never backed down easily. She defended her biases like they were heirlooms, valuable, necessary, irreplaceable. He stood slowly as if the morning had aged him 10 years. Before he reached the door, he turned back. "Jenny, I'm sorry. For all of it. For letting it get this far." I swallowed hard. "Thank you for saying that." He nodded and stepped outside into the cold. The door clicked shut. But the day wasn't done, not even close. My phone rang before he even reached his car. My mother's name lit the screen. "Of course," I answered. "Hi, Mom." Her voice was sharp enough to slice through the air. "What did you do?" I kept my tone level. "I stopped paying your bills." "You can't just do that. I said simply, and I did. She sputtered. "We were counting on you." "That's the problem," I replied. "You were counting on me like it was owed, like my time, my effort, my money existed to prop up your choices. This isn't about choices," she snapped. "It's about family." "No," I corrected. "Family is about reciprocity, care, showing up, not about draining one child while showering another with everything she wants." She went silent briefly before switching tactics. "You're being emotional." "Actually," I said, "this is the calmest I've ever been with you." Another silence, colder this time. Then she whispered as if it were the final defense she had. "We didn't mean to hurt Lily." I closed my eyes. "But you did. And for the first time in my life, I didn't soften the blow for her. I didn't bend. I didn't shrink. I simply told the truth." "You forgot her," I said. "And now I'm remembering us." The line stayed quiet long enough that I wasn't sure she was still there. Then click. I set the phone down, my hands steady, my heartbeat slow. For the first time in years, I felt the balance shift, not violently, not vengefully, but firmly. The next move wouldn't be mine. It would be theirs. My father didn't call that afternoon, but he showed up the next morning holding a small bakery box and a handmade card. He looked tired, but softer, as if something inside him had finally cracked open. "This is for Lily," he said. "She shouldn't feel forgotten. Not ever." Lily peeked around my legs, eyes widening when he knelt to her height. "I'm sorry we made you sad," he whispered. "Grandpa's gonna do better." She wrapped her arms around his neck, simple and forgiving, in a way adults rarely are. Later that day, my phone pinged with a short message from my mother. "Can we talk?" No explanations, no excuses, just 3 words she had never used with me before. I didn't respond right away. Instead, I watched Lily place the bakery box on our table, humming as she opened her crayons beside it. The room felt different, lighter, grounded hours. Maybe conversations would come, maybe change would follow, maybe not. But for the first time in years, the weight wasn't on my shoulders, and that was enough to start again on different terms with boundaries built to protect the little girl who deserved far more than silence. In the days that followed, I didn't rush to fix anything or smooth over the discomfort like I used to. I let the silence stand, I let the boundaries hold, and slowly I realized something simple but life-changing love doesn't mean carrying the weight alone. It means choosing the people who choose you back. Lily laughed more. Our home felt steadier, and I felt maybe for the first time like I was writing the story instead of surviving it. If any part of this hit close to home, you're not alone. Share your story in the comments and subscribe so you don't miss the next one.